So at the end of the day, all of our time here will be finite. We're all going to expire one day or another. That's the blunt truth. Not to be negative, that's just the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why does it take a virus for you to really value the time that you have with loved ones, or value hygiene, or value thinking about the next day, the day after, like a week after, to get all these hoard-in supplies? Why does it take all of this for you to be threatened before you actually start thinking big picture?
Welcome everybody to another episode of The Human Blueprint. I am Angelo. We got Herman with us today. And today's topic, I think, is going to benefit a lot of people because I believe we're experiencing something worldwide. A lot of people are in fear. A lot of people are reacting a lot to the news. They're reacting a lot to all the panic that's out there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it's due to the virus that's going around.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to dedicate this episode to help you so that you don't fall into that trap.
So do you know why people are given into that?
I would say possibly like a lack of understanding, or a lack of, just a lack of, I don't know, maybe understanding?
Maybe more than that, because I think one thing is it's more hysteria than anything. So people become hysterical when there's a lot of threats. People become hysterical when there's a lot of unknowns. So what I noticed today and leading up to today, a lot of people have become very, very fearful, very, very threatened, as if like their life is being threatened, right? Even though their specific life is not, but others are, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are just not listening and taking the necessary precautions. Do you agree with that? I mean, you go to the grocery store, the lineups are like all the way to the back. Mm-hmm. You go and you look at people like they're frantic, like they're running around like a headless chicken. So I see so much of that hysteria going on, and I feel that is almost a mental illness in itself.
Mm-hmm. I was actually at a store today, and there was empty shelves, there was long lines, there was people panicking, and I think people feed off of that. Like if I'm in the store and the person next to me is in a panic, and they're throwing all the toilet paper or all the paper towel or all of whatever into their cart, I mean, do you buy into that? Like if you were in the store, does that make you feel like you need to get more toilet paper, or that they know something that you don't know? Like I think a lot of that happens as well, and we're just almost hurting each other in like this cycle of you see, monkey do.
Of course, and with the monkey will never learn its lesson until it learns to rise above it. So a lot of people are reacting because the news is on 24/7. Now, years ago when there was, I would say, SARS, and even before that when we had the big blackout here in North America, it was like for over a week. There was no power, so you couldn't charge your devices. So everyone was forced to so-called unplug. So they were forced to go to the streets and get to know their neighbor, get to know people, get to actually talk to people, right? Today, you have all of the makings of individualism, where everyone feels like they have to be by themselves. They have to feel like I have to survive. I got to fight to survive, right? And what they don't realize is, what do they have in their face? If it's not the TV, it's the phone. If it's not the phone, it's someone else that's listening to the TV or the phone. Do you know what I mean? So you're bombarded. So even though you think you want to be strong, even though you don't want to give in, everyone's given in because their environment has been invaded or poisoned, because they're allowing that noise to make inside feel insecure.
So how does somebody like you, how do you respond to this? How can people learn from you and how you basically control your environment, or don't let the outside environment affect you?
Well, number one, when you see people are like that, is they're reacting. Second part, a lot of people don't realize whenever you turn to violence and scarcity, that's when you go back to becoming an animal. But if we are supposed to be human, we're supposed to be above that. We're supposed to be having more grace, a lot more tidiness, a lot more respect for one another. And once people give into that animal side, all of a sudden, all their values go out the window because they're no longer thinking for themselves. They're thinking without even thinking at all. They're just doing. They're just reacting.
Yeah.
They're just fearful. They're just allowing things to create a chemical reaction for them to get, I would say, more of that hysteria being fed.
I mean, when you talk about animals, that is so on point. I mean, because I've seen videos of people fighting at the stores.
Yeah.
And it's just all for themselves. Survival mode.
See, when you fight in violence, that's the lowest form to being human. Lowest. Because with human, you're supposed to handle yourself with dignity, with grace, with a certain amount of respect. That's why it was always called to be a lady or a gentleman. Now, people don't even have the understanding of what to be a lady or what to be a gentleman. They've given all the values away. So then when they don't have those values, the foundation, and they're only reacting, hysteria kicks in, and they want to fight everybody. They want to hurt everybody because they just think, I matter more. They think, I got to be territorial. I got to make sure like only my stuff is cared for. And that's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, somebody told me that they read a Facebook post and the person was basically saying like, if you're in quarantine, then, you know, and if you need anything, I'll go and get it for you. I'll go and help you. I just won't give you a hug.
Yeah.
And I think that when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's a good person. That's somebody who is handling this the right way because they're willing to help other people who can't help themselves.
I agree. And for a lot of people, what really triggered this downslide was in the NBA because the first player got it. And what really triggered people was he wasn't necessarily good about it. He was almost like mocking it when he first heard about it in an interview.
Wow.
So then he got it. And then now second best player on his team got it. So now everybody started following suit once the NBA said this is enough, we have to cut this early. Then NHL follows, then all the governments start to follow, then all the other sports things start to follow, then all the music festivals follow, then like everything just follows, right? It was like the first domino.
And even schools.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's like all the big public spaces, they don't really want people to transfer it. And one thing is, a lot of people don't realize too, just because you're not in the public space, just because you're not outside per se, it doesn't necessarily mean you are still hygienic, because it all comes down to personal hygiene. And a lot of people just don't have that. And they need to get better at that.
They need to.
Have to, for the benefit of everyone.
I mean, do you feel like you need some tips? I mean, I've learned a lot from Herman and the team on cleaning and things of that nature. And there's just certain things that you just don't take into consideration. If you don't see your parents do it, or you don't see your family do certain things or take care of certain things a certain way, then you just follow what they've done.
Correct.
And if they aren't paying attention to the bathroom, or like it's something as simple as the faucet, when you touch it and then you go and wash your hands and then you touch it again, like you're still touching the dirty faucet. So I mean, it's simple things like that.
And how often does the faucet actually get cleaned apart from when you use it?
So it really expanded my awareness and my understanding of like what clean actually is.
And for a lot of people, they would be really surprised if they take a black light. So if you don't know what that is, look it up on a video. You put a special tape, put it on the back of your camera, and you go around, take off all the lights, and you will see all the germs everywhere that you never thought were possible to be there.
I think everybody should do that. It'd be super interesting. And leave a comment below if you do it, and let us know like what the dirtiest parts or the dirtiest things that you found in your house.
That you never even thought was really dirty to begin with.
Something like your phone.
Yeah, right? Simple thing like door handle, right? Going up for the stairs bar handle, right? Yeah.
Definitely. So the player in the NBA can you get something for, is it almost like payback? Because if he was like making fun of it or making like a joke out of it.
Some people are saying, yeah, but at the same time, he didn't maybe take the necessary precaution because of the audacity, or maybe he just thought he was better than it, versus taking, the proper procedures or being a little more respectful of other people. Yeah, and I think now that he's apologized, I feel it's okay, but a lot of people need to really understand, like, you can't make jokes about people's lives, or there's the right time to make a joke and the wrong time, and when it's someone's life in danger, I mean, maybe that's not the best time to be making jokes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I understand that there's a lot going on, but at the end of the day, when families are being affected and lives are being lost, it requires more of a sensitive
Correct.
touch, because if that was you, it would hit you so much differently.
Correct.
So it's about having compassion, right?
Of course, and care that, just because it's not under your skin doesn't mean that you're better, doesn't mean that you'll never get it, doesn't mean that it will never affect you. Because every single person is going through some form of battle, some form of struggle that you don't know about. That's why it's called compassion, because you have to understand that you have to give them just a little bit of kindness, a little bit of understanding, so that maybe they can help pull through the difficulties in their life. But if we're going to laugh in their face or feel we're better than them, it makes it very difficult for those people to really grow out of that. They become so stuck in it.
And I think just like the fear is contagious, kindness is also contagious.
Extremely contagious. But the difference is there always needs someone to do it first.
Exactly.
And it's a lot easier for people to run in fear than versus to stop and say, no, I'm better than this.
And I think that there's so much opportunity for every person to go out and do something when the opportunity presents itself. I mean, so I have another story. So I was in the bathroom at a grocery store, and before I washed my hands, I pulled down the paper towel so that when I washed them, I could just go straight to getting it, dry them off, shut off the sink, etc. And so I did that, and then a person grabbed the paper towel, but after he grabbed it, he put it back down so like the next person could grab it. And there was like 4 or 5 people that did it, and everybody did the same thing. After they used it, they like put it down again.
But if you didn't do it first, they would have just taken the one.
Exactly. And so to me, I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. Because I'm just sitting there washing my hands and I see all these people doing it. I'm like, that's actually pretty cool how quickly that could it's just the little things. So after I was done, I did the same thing. And hopefully, like, it's just the small things like that we can do to just be more thoughtful of other people. Just
as much as debt and negativity can compound, so can kindness and good things compound. But for a lot of people, they only want to be on the one side of the coin. They don't see the other side.
So with all the fear going on, like, do you have any words of wisdom for people to take into consideration before they fall victim or prey to the news, or to, like, obviously we need to stay informed,
of course, but
that doesn't mean that you should just over-inundate yourself with all of the news. So what's your fine line, or what's the line that you draw?
So at the end of the day, all of our time here will be finite. We're all going to expire one day or another. That's the blunt truth. Not to be negative, that's just the truth, right? Why does it take a virus for you to really value the time that you have with loved ones, or value hygiene, or value thinking about the next day, the day after, like a week after, to get all these hoarding supplies? Why does it take all of this for you to be threatened before you actually start thinking big picture? Why were people not thinking big picture before that and say, you know what, let's be more hygienic. Let's make sure that while everyone is good, everything is good, that we're able to take care of more people or do more with our time. Because a lot of times, people don't realize how much time they're wasting on a phone, how much time they're wasting on a screen, how much time they're wasting, complaining and bad-talking people or gossiping. All of these things are wasting. And then they say they have no time. Everybody has the same amount of time every day. It's what you do with it. And for a lot of people, once you realize the value of each second, and you maximize every single one of those seconds, then when you back it up with the foundation we're talking about, that we share and we go through, with everybody in the inner circle, what happens is now that you have the foundation, it's a lot easier to connect what's going on to the outside. See, a lot of people on the outside, if they don't have that foundation, they react, jump, emotions, jump. Don't know what to do, right? And when we train in martial arts, these are things this is how we train. So when we would train, my father would make me wear like a blindfold, and I have to be able to like see what's in front, or be able to know like what's in front, or block my ears and be able to hear something that's on the other side or far away, or cook something and be able to smell exactly what it is, or I don't get to eat. Like, that's the training, right? So it's because during times like these, what if we had no lights? Could you still navigate or learn how to navigate the area of where you live if there was zero light? I could. If you had no ability to smell, could you navigate to know whether or not danger was coming or if something was wrong? Like, if you didn't have the ability to hear, would you have the ability to navigate beyond your senses? Do you understand? If you were injured and you couldn't touch something, could you navigate beyond just feeling with your just hands? Like, it's going beyond just that. And for a lot of people, because they don't have that foundational training, they jump.
Exactly.
They get fearful because they didn't prepare. Everything's preparation, right? And if you don't have the preparation, then when comes to test time, everybody's going to fail. So that's why everyone has to learn to do something new every day. Everyone has to add a new pedigree, if you will, a new way of breeding to excel and to accelerate different areas that are weak, so that then we have more to offer to the world. Because a lot of people depend on their senses because they only want to pleasure it. But what goes beyond that is what happens when you just lose one of those senses. It makes it very difficult to even just function day-to-day life. So that's why I highly recommend people stop taking time for granted, stop taking the basic necessities for granted, and really start looking and say, you know what? Instead of me chasing things that are just going to be for just fleeting happiness, how about we go after the things that are for necessities? So here's the thing. You see people, they're buying TP, they're buying paper towel, they're buying all these cleaning supplies, they're buying the water. Those are necessities, correct?
They're pretty necessary.
So here's my question to you. How come they're not out buying the LV purses? How come they're not out buying the biggest, newest TV? How come they're not out buying the most expensive car right now? How come they're not traveling thinking it would be cheaper? Why are they not doing that?
Those things aren't necessary when when your survival is.
See, instinct
challenged.
always knows the truth, but how many people have suppressed it? How many people have lied to it? So then you no longer know what is your instinct. You no longer know how to listen to yourself. But it shows.
What you're going through right now is actually, it relates to the webinar that we just did.
Yeah.
So last week, if you're watching this right now, we did a webinar and it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about the foundation. We talked a lot about fulfillment. And we do still have the replay.
Yeah.
So I think that if you're finding value in this, definitely go to the description and watch that webinar replay, because it takes it to the next level and really gives you the next step to understanding yourself, understanding what to do to really get rid of those outside distractions, that external desires, and to really do something more infinite with your time.
And there's a free gift. So
exactly.
Who doesn't want something free?
I think that would be a great next step. If you found value in this, check out that replay. And if you stay to the very end, there's some awesome things that we do and we share. And Herman does an actual real live experience to show you that you don't need anything outside of you to be happy or to be fulfilled or to have peace. And I think that's what the world needs right now overall, because too much fear, too much panic, too much distractions.
Yeah.
I mean, just go to a grocery store near you. No matter where you're at in the world, you're probably feeling it. And we want to show you how not to fall into that trap.
Exactly.
So any last thoughts?
Work on your hygiene, number one.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
If you didn't see the last episode that we did, Herman said that when you wash your hands, sing happy birthday twice.
And if you found that helpful, please watch it, because there's so much little nuggets in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe if you found value. Go to the description to watch the webinar replay, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you.